risk.
Worth the risk. Yeah. And the thing with Salah is he's passing the eye test. He's getting in those positions. He's still scoring. I mean, I think he's still one of the highest scorers this season in FPL points wise. So it's not a bad risk to take. I think, in fact, it's probably smart to cater him off the back of a blank because, you know, just over historically the last 2-3 seasons, you don't see Salah blanking 2 or 3 weeks in a row. So I don't want to jinx it, but I think he is a good option to captain this week. And just holding on to not making any transfers in a seasonal shopping and changing, it's definitely worth a shot because tinkering too much can sometimes, really come back and bite you. And that's something that I'm tempted.
That's
Yeah, yeah, it's always tempting. Like I have so many options that I'm looking at the moment. Danny Ings looks great. How good does he look this season? City, I really feel like are long overdue a complete, 5-0, 6-0, 7-0 game. And away to Sheffield this week, who Sheffield don't look like a good side at all anymore. So I wouldn't be surprised if they shock us with, well, it won't really be a shock, but they get a five goal haul there with Sterling, playing through the middle, getting a hat trick. That's something that I'm really considering. Like, and I'm so close to like bringing Sterling in for Mane. It's something that is like a, if I do it, it's going to be a 5 minute before the deadline, last minute instinct punt. Like, fuck, I'm just going to do it. But logic would tell me go after Harry Kane, go after people in form over fixtures, and that's something that I have to think about. But again, City one to keep an eye out for. I think Sterling, KDB, both of them, both long overdue for a big haul, and it's going to come sooner rather than later.
Great. So maybe we can end with one last section. So this is a section on one differential that we believe is going to be a hit, and one player that is owned by a lot of teams that we believe is going to be a flop. We're going to try and track our predictions over the period of this season, and maybe we can turn this into a game where each of us gets points for predicting correctly. But Bharat, you want to go first with
So are you talking about this week or just like over the course of the season?
this week? Yeah.
This week, I think a player that a lot of people have that is going to blank for me is DCL. I think he's the one that is on the downward trajectory for me. Everyone sees it. Everyone knows it's going to happen. He's not going to be able to sustain his goal scoring form. I feel like he's one that sooner rather than later was going to flop, and he just does. In pure footballing ability, he just doesn't cut it for me. So I think he's one that I feel like is going to flop this week. Even though Newcastle is not a bad fixture, but he's probably going to flop. And a differential that might work out this week for me is Mason Greenwood. I think he home to Arsenal, big differential. Not a lot of people are going to have him. I think he's United are gonna look good. They've been looking good in the big games so far. Even Chelsea, PSG and Leipzig, of course, they won deservingly so. But Chelsea, I feel like they had the better chances. They could have apart from Mr. Maguire and his penalty incident. I don't know how that wasn't a penalty, but other than that, uh, they could have gotten past Chelsea with those 3 points. But I think Greenwood's going to be a differential this week that I feel like can get you um, a goal at the very least, maybe a goal and an assist.
Fair. Ishan, do you want to go next?
A big player that I think will flop.
Not a big player, a heavily owned player that you think will flop.
I think James. Um, I don't think he'll get attacking returns against Newcastle. I just I don't know why. Maybe it's just psychological, but I feel like Everton have lost a bit of their zest. But I still think DCL is more likely to get a goal. James, because of his position and the way that he plays, DCL, you can't take him away from the goal right now. He's just there, knocking on the door all the time. James is a bit more he has to create as well. He plays deep sometimes. I don't see him getting an attacking return. And a differential that could work. Can I name can I name two?
Sure, go ahead. I
I
mean,
feel
but
like
you go with one pick though. Which one is your sort of? We're gonna be scoring this, so
damn,
go with your first. The first person you name is your pick, but then you can name two if you want. I mean, you can get additional points if you get both right, but you lose points if you get either wrong.
um I feel like Diogo Jota is getting a goal this week.
Wow. Okay. And second.
Interesting.
Yeah. I would have gone for Rashford. That was my first thought because he just looks really sharp right now. But because Bharat said Greenwood, I didn't want to name a United asset again. So
You want to
going
jinx
with
it.
going with Jota.
So and who was your second pick?
Jota was my second pick. Rashford was my first.
Ah, okay, fair. Interesting, guys. So at least your flops, you guys seem to be of the opinion that Everton are gonna flunk against Newcastle, which is obviously very
No,
interesting.
I'm not saying Everton will flunk. They can win. I just think James will not get any attacking return.
Yeah, I mean fair. James and DCL combined, I mean. But maybe I think let me go first with my differential that I think will perform this week. I think this week is going to be Raheem Sterling's week, finally. I think what I saw from the game week prior was that he got so many chances and he just didn't convert even one of them, which is exactly the kind of game week that is super frustrating for owners of Sterling, right? Because he comes in so expensive. And it's exactly the time that they'll sort of dump him, having watched this performance for another one of the prized assets. And that's exactly when the dude performs, which is why he's one of the most frustrating, high risk, high reward assets. So I think if you have him, captain him. I think it's a great punt for this week. The person that I believe a lot of people have and that is going to flunk this week. I'm shocked that a lot of people have him, but I'm really hoping that I'm right on this one. It's Patrick Bamford, man. It's more hope than anything. Like I hope the guy fails this week. If he doesn't fail this week, I swear, if he scores like more than 10 points, if he falls, I'm I'm telling you on this podcast right now, I'm going to get him into my team. It's. I mean, I think there's a moment where you just have to shut up and listen to what God is saying. And if God is telling me get him into my team so that he stops performing, I'm willing to do that. I don't like to.
That
Just
was yeah. That was the DCL signal for me as well. They have to bring him no matter what. But interesting that you said that. So I feel like I think I might want to change my differential pick there. I know I picked Mason Greenwood, but like Sean said, there's a good chance he may not start this week given how he was unfit until last weekend with the knock, and he came back straight in the team, scored a goal. He got taken off as well, so he may start. But I think a player who's definitely going to start this weekend, who didn't start midweek in the Champions League, and I think is a giant killer always, is
Jesse Lingard.
uh, I think Riyad Mahrez. I think he's going to start this week. I think he is.
I knew it was a City player. I was waiting for
Yeah,
who it was though.
yeah. So I'm going to change my differential from Greenwood to Mahrez. I think he's going to get a big haul. I think with Mahrez is when he gets points, it's usually at least 12 points or 13 points in a week. He doesn't do that too often, maybe once in like 6 to 8 weeks. But when he gets them big. So I think Mahrez is one to look out for this week. But I don't think it's still worth bringing him in just because of the inconsistency that comes with owning Mahrez. But yeah, I'm going to change my differential pick to Mahrez.
Fair enough. Great.
Cool, sounds good.
So we covered a lot of ground here. So I mean, good note to end this podcast, and hope that we eventually like some of our hypotheses eventually work out, and some of the things we're saying actually come true, that people can actually start trusting our opinion and giving a shit rather than going exactly the opposite of what we say.
Yeah, self
At this, at,
self-proclaimed.
at this point, I would probably just do exactly the opposite of what any of us say.
I agree 100%.
All right, guys, thank you for tuning in. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Spotify and on Instagram, and see you around next time. Okay, 3 cut.